Charles Oliveira and Dustin Poirier in the lightweight division. 5 rounds of action between two 32-year-olds in the lightweight division. The champion being Charles Oliveira, but the sort of uncrowned champion being Dustin Poirier, because he, of course, could have got a title shot. I mean, after Khabib retired, they could have done Poirier versus Gaethje for the belt, but instead they did Oliveira versus Michael Chandler instead, and Oliveira went out there and knocked him out in the second round. Well, he almost got knocked out in the first round, but it was a very, very solid performance. He's going to be a little bit taller by 1 inch and have a reach advantage by 1 inch as well. 31 wins and 8 losses. Has the most submission wins in UFC history. Guillotining Kevin Lee, knocking out Jared Gordon, knocking out Michael Chandler, decisioning Tony Ferguson. A buttload of submission wins over David Tamur, Jim Miller, Chris Giagos, and Clay Guida. Only losing to Anthony Pettis, former champion, Ricardo Lamas, former title challenger, Max Holloway, one of the greatest featherweights of all time, and Paul Felder, many times fighting for main events inside the UFC. Frankie Edgar, a title holder, Donald Cerrone, title challenger, Jim Miller, top 5, top 10 guy. I mean, we can go down the whole entire list of the many guys that this man has faced. Literally everyone's an absolute beast. Everyone Charles Oliveira has fought have an absolute beast. But overall, and we're gonna look at how both fighters are gonna win. Early on, Charles Oliveira is gonna have the advantage. He's the better overall fighter in the early rounds because he's got very good Muay Thai. He's got the high hat. He has the reach. He has the better kicking game. He's got the better counter punching, in my opinion, as well. And early on in the fight, I believe he's gonna stay at range, have Poirier come to him. He's not gonna have Poirier come to him. He's gonna come forward and just look to kind of go in and out. He has the height, he has the reach, and he has the kicking advantage. He's gonna play that game at range on Poirier and just look to out volume Poirier in those early rounds to kind of eke out the rounds on the judges' scorecards. Of course, we obviously know that Oliveira has a grappling and jiu-jitsu advantage as well, so we could expect to see a takedown or two from Charles Oliveira as well. But I believe Dustin Poirier, being the better wrestler than Charles Oliveira, will be able to defend the takedown. So I don't think the grappling and wrestling is really going to play too much of a factor for either guys. We might see a takedown or two, but it's not going to play the biggest factors. I personally don't think Poirier is going to take down Oliveira, and I don't see Oliveira taking down Poirier. So I see this fight being a striking fight, Oliveira winning the earlier fight just due to the kicking advantage. But later on in the fight, once Poirier starts to come on the front foot, really put on the boxing combinations, really put on the pressure, that is where I'm going to side with Dustin Poirier. So I either see an early finish of Charles Oliveira going out there, getting Dustin Poirier's back to the cage, landing some really big shots, and knocking out Dustin Poirier, or landing a good shot, getting the fight to the ground, and submitting Poirier. That could happen early on in the fight. That is a possibility. But later on in the fight, which I do think it will go on to the 4th round and to third round, maybe even the 5th round, I highly doubt it, but it will at least go to the 3rd round, in my opinion. Once it does get there, where Oliveira is a little bit more tired, as he hasn't been in any 5-round fights. I mean, the last fight was 5 rounds, but it was only 2 rounds there. The longest he's ever gone was 3 rounds, and that was the fight with Tony Ferguson. Of course, that was a decision. I mean, maybe the Jeremy Stephens fight as well, a very long time ago, but he's never gone to the 4th round, never gone to the 5th round. That is where Poirier is going to put on the pressure, put on those boxing combinations, and in my opinion, that is where Poirier is going to knock out Charles Oliveira. I know a lot of you guys out there, I'm going to go Oliveira early on by submission, early on by knockout, but I think Poirier will last those big shots, the submission attempts from Oliveira early on in the fight, and it's going to come back where Oliveira has never been, in the 4th and 5th round, and that is where he's going to do just as he did against Conor McGregor, get it back to the cage, and just start throwing those combinations, and I do think he lands and knocks out Charles Oliveira. A really good fight in the main event of UFC 269. I got Poirier by knockout, specifically in the third or 4th round. I'm going to go specifically in the 3rd round. A really good fight in the lightweight division.